I got
Okay.
it.
Gotcha.
The mail room, I be tuned in. Listen in to TaShon, she be going in.
Y'all.
Black queen for us black kings. We can learn a thing or two when we're locked in. One of the few places we can be heard.
Facts,
Man, I rocks with her, that's my word. The show is enlightening, engagement always enticing. I'm always come with an open mind, I'm never frightened. Guaranteed to walk away with minerals. Now that I'm thinking everything else is minuscule. We're the fools who don't protect black women. No arguing, disrespect, and that's it.
Y'all.
Please come in peace when you call in. Cause our friends ain't no slouch, fair warning. The mail room, messages from him. Y'all better listen if you want to win. The mail room to stay, the mail room, yes, it's here to stay.
Messages from him, tune in.
The mail room to stay, the mail room, yes, it's here to stay.
Messages from him, tune in.
The mail room to stay, the mail room, yes, it's here to stay.
Messages from him, tune in.
The mail room to stay, the mail room, yes, it's here to stay.
Messages from him, tune in.
Yo, what's going on?
Yeah.
Hey,
Yes,
happy
yes.
Saturday.
Happy
How
Saturday.
y'all doing?
Feeling good.
Doing well. Yes.
Feeling good.
Listen, y'all, welcome to the mail room. Messages from him and friends. With the messages from him with TaShon and friends.
Yeah.
I told you, I'm trying to sip on this coffee in between. But before we get started, TMR is sponsored by Swag Her Magazine and TLC Coaching Services and hosted on 101 TKO Radio Podcast Now. So listen up, good people. We're back for season 6 in podcast form. We are now coming to you on all major platforms.
Let's go, baby.
Including Apple, Spotify, Google, and 101 TKO Radio Podcast. Oh, including iHeartRadio, y'all. Woo! iHeartRadio. So make sure you subscribe to our YouTube, the Mail Room 7671, and download the 101 TKO Radio app to listen to all of the latest episodes. And today I have my friends. I got DJ Johnny Prince.
Yes, what's going on?
What's going on?
Yes, it's going on.
Clear alert podcaster.
Come on now.
We got Mr. LaRon Takeover. Mr. It was the Uncanning Show podcaster.
And the social real talk. Uncanny Takeover. I was waving because I was on a car like we was in a parade. So
you know what? And we have our guest co-host for today's episode, Miss Evelyn Whitney.
Hello, everyone. Hello.
How y'all doing today?
Always good to be
doing
with
great.
You. Always.
Good to have y'all. Good to see y'all. Good to be seen, y'all. We made it another week. That was a blessing. I don't know about y'all, but I am super blessed to be here on this Saturday morning. Including our very own Dexter Scott King. Last week we wasn't on, and then yesterday Carl Weathers, two black icons, legends. You know, rest in peace. They were both young. Carl Weathers was 75, and Dexter Scott King was 62 or 63.
Yeah, he was young.
Yeah, he died from
colon cancer,
pancreatic cancer.
I thought pancreatic.
Yeah, and so I'm not sure what Carl Weathers was, but he was highly active. He was just
he did a commercial for somebody.
Mandalorian, was it Mandalorian, Disney's Mandalorian or something like that?
Oh, for real? I didn't know.
Yeah, he was he was still working. He was working.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. You know,
I just seen him in an episode of a TV show that I watched, and I was really saddened to hear that. You guys, Action Jackson. That's all I know.
Action Jackson, for real.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Action Jackson. And then of course Apollo, you know, is just a very good actor. I always thought he was handsome too. He was, you know, like, ooh, that was one. Yeah, when I was younger, I was like,
you're going after a man your age now instead of Usher, you know.
He was looking good now. And then look, he got finer with time too. I'm like, oh, he was a handsome old guy. But you know, I'm like
I'm
you.
so proud of you. I'm so proud. I was worried. I'm so proud of you.
Yeah, he was indeed a great actor and so forth. So prayers to both of their families, the Weathers family and the King family and so forth. And just the deaths they coming. So that's why I said I am thankful to be here and thankful to see y'all. No matter what is happening around us. But today I do have to give the brow out today to the students at McEachern High School. Yes, was it yesterday?
What they do?
Here in Cobb County, where they were shooting.
What?
And they had to put the kids on lockdown, and they had a shootout at the school and so forth. And it was, some of our boys, our babies. So I'm not sure if anybody was injured. I want to say 2 people were injured, but it was, and it's just like, come on, y'all, school shootings and it's just too much. So we got
to stop being jealous of them other folks and trying to do what they doing.
Tell you, man.
Listen, but I think this one was more so kind of like neighborhoodish type of beef.
It probably is,
because they were outside and it was a group of the boys, and so it wasn't anything they weren't targeting the children, the students. They were students, so it looked like it was more of a
school shooting.
Versus being an actual, like, them shooting at students in the school. They were targeted. And I want to say last week there were some teenage boys. I don't know if y'all saw that. It was here in Atlanta off of King, Dr. King Avenue. They were running and trying to shooting at 11-year-old, So I don't know what's going on, the whole gun thing, the whole people, it's just never ending. So just keeping everyone in prayer and keeping our students and kids in prayer. So but my question though, are we at war?
What you mean? What you mean? War where?
The United States. Are we at war or something?
There's a couple things happening overseas that they don't talk about. Yeah. We still
watch the news. I don't know.
Okay, so Biden let out, because I read a topic that he released some airstrikes or something.
I didn't hear that yet, but I know we over there doing some things. I know that.
And I read something. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Johnny.
No, go ahead.
I was just saying I read something about that as well. There were several Americans that were killed, and there is a response to that situation. That ties into everything already happening.
Yes,
yet to be determined.
Okay, are they talking about the 3 black soldiers that were just killed from Georgia?
I think so.
Yes,
they were part of it. It was a drone attack that killed these Americans, and and like you said, that airstrike was in response to that. That's what it was.
Wow, and prayers go out to those families. I was listening to one of the mothers. And I was just sitting there in tears, and she was like, "My baby's not coming back home." And
I know that was sad.
Sad. I read these stupid comments. I live for the comments. They could be either funny or hilarious, but some of them could just be downright just evil. And and I know people sign up for the military, and this is what you sign up for these things or whatever, but the comments, some of the comments were like, "Oh, well, they signed up for it, and this is what they get." And I was like, and everybody's like, just wow, like you signed up to serve your country, no matter how you
serve your country. Not I
was a military kid, so I didn't agree with war, and I don't like what we have to go through. But our veterans signed up because they are thinking about us for whatever the reasons. But when you say things like that, I don't respect you anymore, because it's human life. You know what I'm saying? Like, and these were 3 young, 2 of them were young, very young, like they had just started off in the military and so forth. So when you say things like that, like, oh, they signed up for this, so they knew what they were getting into. Yeah, they know what the military is all about, but you never expect to lose your life right there then over, and then you don't know what you're fighting about and this kind of stuff. So yeah, I keep praying for people because it's sad. Some humans on earth are just sad, right?
There's some people that don't need to be here, right?
That's right, just pathetic. I just gotta say, they just pathetic. I'm just like, So anyhow, but Listen, we got a good show today. We got a good show. We're talking about love restarted, forgiveness, as we were ending out
Mm,
our January
mm,
series on commitment.
mm.
And so we're going to talk about that, plus a little bit of intimacy talk, like because it's the month of love.
Yeah,
Very month
yeah,
of
baby.
love. And
Yeah.
it's Black History. I got on my Black History earrings. I don't like wearing, I don't like dangly earrings so much. Like I don't like the big, but I'm put these on for my
Okay, okay,
culture.
okay. No,
My culture. But I celebrate Black History all year round. What
Yeah,
about y'all?
you
Y'all
got that
celebrate?
right. Yeah. I
yeah.
don't, I'm not. I celebrate all year long. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't. I ain't with
That was
the.
one of that was one of my posts that I said to people that everything that they post during Black History Month is still relevant March 1st back through January 31st.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right,
That's
Yeah.
right.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
I mean, I and not to take away from the Black History Month because we do still need it. If we're gonna give
Hmm.
everybody else months and seasons, we definitely need ours, especially for our children in schools. But for me, I'm like, listen, I'm Black every day. I
Hmm.
celebrate Black History every day. We inventing and creating every day. So,
To this
but I
day.
love it. It's just something about Black History Month, but it gives me an extra boost because I be like, I be like, look, I'm really like, come on,
You
like
ready
I
to
get
jump
this
off?
boost. I get this like extra,
See,
like
I'm like
yeah,
that
be
every
like,
day.
look at me sideways if you want to. What?
Wow.
Like for some reason, and I have to pray on
You
that.
ready to fight? Hey, you
I
ready to get him
do.
dance, girl? Don't fight.
I know, like I just be like extra when it comes like literally. I was in the store, like I think I was in the line or something, and what you looking at? Like what?
Oh
What?
Lord, you like that TikTok I just came across an Instagram post where the white lady was doing something standing outside and the black person came across and he said, "Move, girl."
Oh
It's
yeah,
Black
yeah,
History
yeah,
Month.
yeah. It's Black History Month. Move, girl.
That's me. I'm
Wow.
telling you, that's me. I be like, get out of my way. What you looking at? Like what? What? It's Black History Month, So, but I mean, it's Black History Month. I just get this look, like
Well, that's the
hey,
same thing about I've started to realize. Well, I had to go get food for the dog this morning at Walmart, and I'm looking at all the Valentine's stuff,
mhm,
and people seriously get mad, and not calling any women out. People seriously get mad on the 14th if that man forgets to do something on the 14th. Granted, he's done several things throughout the year up to the 14th,
mhm,
but the 14th, you missed the 14th. I didn't get
mhm.
my flowers. I didn't get my gifts, my bears, my romantic trip.
Yeah,
Well, if you over the age of 35, 40, you should be upgrading anyway. You shouldn't be getting no bears and whatever. You should be getting some gifts
Really?
and trips and stuff. So,
Hey, my baby like bears.
I mean, I like them too, but
you better not forget
send me
that
on a
day. That's all I got
vacation.
to say. Don't you
What you
dare
Yeah,
say?
forget about
But
that
that's
for
day.
sad though.
for many
It's
people.
like you get a divorce because you missed the 14, but I don't miss the
Well,
anniversary. I don't miss everything else, and I'm
well, now
good.
if
I'm
they
still
get
in
a
the house.
divorce because he missed something, that's deep. That's something deeper. That was long before the
Yeah, yeah.
14th. That was just a catalyst so they could put it on them divorce chart proceedings.
Yeah,
He
No, at
missed
basically.
least somebody
everything,
can get it on
including
the
the
15th. You get a
14th.
side piece.
So, what you say, Lisa? If they say they get on the 15th, you want to sign? Like, listen. So, I
Oh
mean,
man.
some people take it real, like they take it. I mean, back in the day, I used to be like, oh, Valentine's Day, but now it's like me and Chef. Well, he has Sweetest Day, so that's in October. So I
Oh yeah.
celebrate that for him, and then he'll do Valentine's Day for me. But it really, I'm cool with it if he doesn't get me anything for Valentine's Day because we give gifts to each other all year long. But that
Okay.
was something that we made it like it really isn't a big deal. Valentine's Day now, Sweetest Day for him, it's a big deal.
You
Mm.
got that right.
I I can't miss I
You
cannot
better
miss that
not forget
day.
a Swedish day.
And what day it is again?
It's October,
17th usually, or
yeah,
around
around
that.
17th,
that
17th.
time. Yeah,
You
I
better not
have
forget it.
what you
Do
say?
you do you have to
Better not
be
forget.
do you have to be from Ohio, Chef?
No, you don't. Well,
Okay.
it's the Midwestern holiday. So
I'm I'm Midwest Albany, so that counts though, right?
No, Georgia. No, we in Georgia. We gonna celebrate Valentine's Day. Or as the kids say, Valentine's. Y'all, it is
Valentine's with an M.
Valentine's. Tineses.
Right.
N N.
It ain't Valentine's.
No. Oh,
It
that
ain't-
hurts me.
Dang.
It's Valentine.
It's
Nine.
Valentine's with an N, baby, with an M.
Oh my gosh. That
M.
whenever I hear people, I just be like, oh.
Ah,
M. Valentine's.
Mhm.
It's just, it's the teacher in me, and it's just, but hey, say it if you want to. I'm just saying, if my face light up, like I give you that look. But are you doing it? Y'all doing anything for Valentine's Day?
nah,
Yeah.
nope.
We don't celebrate.
Yeah, nah.
I'll tell you.
I'm Valentine's all day. I already told you what.
Y'all celebrating Black love. Oh, wait a minute. Today is National Wet. Oh shoot, y'all.
National what?
I gotta get a
National Wedding Day.
National
Why you asking for that?
Wedding Ring Day.
Wedding
And
ring
yesterday
day?
was no, this month is National Weddings Month, and today is National Wedding Ring Day. So
Wow.
Trying to get that
okay.
money, and it means
Yeah,
necessary.
basically.
Wow.
yeah,
Yeah.
so flash up your wedding rings. I got to make that post, y'all. It's been a relationship coach because I am your certified relationship coach.
Oh
All
my God.
things relationship growth. So, and speaking on that, I do need to see a dancing video from each one of you all,
Okay.
including DJ E Smooth when he comes back next week. The two guest co-hosts, Evelyn and Mark. I need to
Okay.
see those dance videos.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Say
29
less.
days of dancing. This is day 3.
Okay. All
All
right.
right, I guess we can participate.
It's
Can
supposed to be the cup.
You hear that,
Listen,
baby?
yes,
Listen, I'm in the
Lisa,
gym.
I need y'all the dancing videos. Oh, y'all gonna dance this
I
year?
put my twerking. Let me go ahead and time my loose playlist. Go ahead and
I'm
find
in
my
the, I'm
loose
in the
Hey.
gym every day. Could that be my dancing video?
You say what?
I said I'm in the gym every day. Could that be my dancing video?
As long as you dancing, you do it with some dumbbells. With some dumbbells,
You gotta look like
dancing.
it, right?
Oh man.
You know what?
Oh. Yeah, nah, I can't. Yo.
What we talking about today, boss?
Saturday alarms.
What we talking about today, boss?
You know what? Listen, before we get started, this content, let me do these business shout outs. Here by Tatiana Latressa A. Crawford, Executive Life Coach, DJ
Yes.
Johnny Prince, DJ Services, Women Are Dope by Chelsea Speaks, I Can Beat MS with LaRon Williams, The Plush Lab, Chemistry Treats, Toki Miller, Arlene Corley of The Path Podcast, and Dr. Gina Crawford of The Power Experience. And for more information on these businesses, visit IG's The Mailroom 7671. You will see their new flyers and their information plastered all over this weekend for our infamous $10 business shout out. And I thank you all so much for investing in your business.
That's right.
And with me and in yourselves. It makes a big difference, and I really appreciate that. And if you all, again, want to invest in your business, just $10, y'all. You got $10. $10. That's pretty cheap, y'all.
Yeah.
Pretty reasonable. So
Yeah.
go ahead and get those business shout outs in. And remember, we're on all major platforms. So listen, I mean,
Come on,
I'm
y'all.
just gonna tell y'all. So thank y'all so much. And again, go visit their information. You can find the information on the TMR platforms. Okay. And make sure you
All right.
connect and follow with them.
That's right.
So forth.
Thank you.
So listen, today we're talking about love restarted, forgiveness in our relationships. Now, I know forgiveness is always one of those issues that people find it hard to do because the first thing they think of is somebody cheating. Or it's just, oh, I can't forgive and I can't forget.
Mhm.
But I've known couples that are thriving to this day. They've been through some hell and high water, and they are celebrating 15, 20 years, 30 years. But one thing that I learned from them and that they shared with me over the years is they had to forgive. they had to forgive each other, and they had to go through, it was a process, and it didn't take overnight. It wasn't an overnight process, but it was something that they both agreed that they would do, no matter what the offense was. And being this is love month, a lot of relationships want to call it quits because one of the partners offended them, and whatever it may be, may be the case. Now, forgiveness again does not equate to condoning the behaviors. Ultimately, you do have to make a choice, and you have to say, am I going to work this out with my partner? Or, what are some steps we're going to take? What is the process going to look like? But you do have to make that stance. But today I want to talk about forgiveness in our relationships, between men and women, because there are a lot of people who just give up on each other in a heartbeat, the quickness, and, it's just sometimes, my first marriage ended in infidelity. And I knew then. I tried to make it work for, a few weeks. And then I was like, no, this ain't going to work. This is not me. I'm not ready to be a stepmother and look at this child in the face and not have resentment, this and another. So God allowed me to gracefully bow out, and I had that right, not only biblically, but I had that right, as a person, as a woman, to say, this is the choice that I'm making and I can leave. But I still had to forgive him. That was the hardest part. That was the hardest part. And let me tell y'all, that's going to be in the second part of the Woman on Fire book. But my total forgiveness for him did not come until 2018, believe it or not. 2008.
When did you leave him? When did you
We got
divorce?
in 2007.
Okay,
So
and then so 7 to 2018. Okay.
yeah. So mind you, I'm married to Chef, and so I, in the beginning, I'm like, oh, I forgave him. I'm going through my therapy, and oh, I forgive him. And it wasn't until one of my spiritual pastors, she called me out. She said, "You haven't forgiven him,"
Mm.
and I said, "Yes, I have. I have forgiven him." But what I found out, and it wasn't until I was having vivid dreams, I was having hateful, vengeful dreams, right? And I would wake up in the middle of the night. Chef would be like, "Who you fighting?" He was like, "You hit me." And I was like, "I didn't mean to hit you. What you mean? What? I didn't hit you." He said, "No, you fighting somebody in your dreams." And this was going like, I was like, he said, I was like, boom, 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 right? And I said, and I didn't tell him at first. I didn't tell him who I was fighting, but I knew I was fighting my ex-husband in the dream because it was clear as day. And so, and this had been going on for some weeks. And he said, "Who are you fighting? You're waking up in sweat, you're fighting, you're crying." And I said, "No, you fabricate." Like, I'm literally like arguing with him, like, "You lying. I ain't doing all of that." But it was actually happening. And this is when I was again, when I was speaking to a therapist, and she was like, "You hadn't forgiven him." So I had to take the step. I was like, oh, I was still holding on because I was expecting an apology from him all of these years. And he still hasn't get my ex-husband is a narcissist, right?
That closure that you would never get.
That exactly. And I had to make peace with that, but I had to forgive on my end so that I could be free because he still had power over me and not knowing this. And this is why I suggest to people, you gotta forgive and let go. And when I took that step to forgive him, I had to reach out to him, woo, via Instagram because we got each other blocked. And I just simply said, "Hey, haven't spoken to you, X, Y, and Z, but I just want to let you know that I forgive you. And I'm asking you to forgive me." No, I said, "I forgive you." This Negro of a man said, "I forgive you too." Woo!
He ain't do nothing.
I started
What
seeing
you talking
red.
about? He ain't do nothing in his eyes. He ain't do nothing. So what am I apologizing to you for?
My coach was on the other end, and she knew exactly what was happening. She said, "Breathe. You did what you were supposed to do. Now let it go." And I did. I let it go. And from that day forward, 2018, I let him go because I released the power. No matter what, he's never going to apologize. He probably would go on his deathbed and never apologize. But at least I know what I did. I released it. So for my healing, and this is where a lot of couples and especially women, we stay stuck in our woes because we're expecting the apologies. We are expecting the other person who will hurt us to be like, yeah, I did and it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen. It can happen, but it just depends on the person. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to talk about that today. And what is it that you all think? What are your takes on the forgiveness piece? Let's go. What y'all got?
I could say from experience from my previous marriage that I would say 2 years in, to make it short, she realized that she married the wrong person,
Mm-hmm.
and who she wanted to marry had just gotten out of the military, and he was divorced. And she talked about this person very, very, very hatefully and all this. And so I didn't think nothing of it at the very beginning. But when I realized what the situation was, I gave her an option. Hey, go and find out if this is what you really want. I'll still be here. And if you don't want it, you can come back home and we start over. If you do want it, I'll let you go. Because I was really in love with her, and I wanted her to have what she wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And so she came back, but she consistently cheated.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me a minute to forgive her inside of the marriage before we even got a divorce, because I had to understand that it wasn't me.
Mm-hmm.
It was her. And it was something that she needed and something she was desiring. And it's like you won't forget. And I think a lot of people think that you're supposed to forgive and forget. You'll never forget. And not forgetting doesn't mean that it's going to harper over you and be something that's going to be bad. But you're right about having to forgive yourself. That's really the first thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you really don't have to go to that person and tell them that you forgive them or whatever. But just you forgiving yourself, allowing yourself to sit and soak in those moments
Mm-hmm.
is more important than anything. And that's why I just said the power that you give to people in the form of closure, because everybody wants closure. The people that we've coached a couple of times, I just want him to tell me, or I just want her to say that she's wrong, or why would you do me like that? If you get that, what is it going to do for you at the end of the day? It's not going to change anything. They still did what they did.
Mm-hmm. Let me play one of the videos that which one is it? The first one?
Which one?
All three of them on the forgiveness piece, right?
Yeah, all three of them. Yes.
Let me play this first.
Forgiveness is I let it go, I forgive you. It's as if it didn't happen.
Right.
So yes, it's up to him to be doing all the work to make me feel secure, but at the same time, it's up to her to decide if she truly forgives him. And if she's not, then she needs to have more conversations to figure out how to regain that security and trust.
Okay.
One.
We forgive our partners that have treated us poorly, that have done us wrong, our partners that have let us down. It's not about them. It's not about finding closure with them. It's not about meeting up with them to see them one last time to get closure. That's your ego. True forgiveness and true healing happens regardless of what's going on outside of you. So forgiveness with a partner that has harmed you is really about you making one decision and one decision only. How much do I love myself? Because if I love myself truly, then the question is, do I and will I allow myself to hold on to all of this anger, all of this grief, all of this pain that this person brought to my life?
First get married and you got a bunch of people like giving you advice to get married when you're for a happy marriage, and they say
Happy wife, happy life.
not that one, but when they say don't go to bed angry, And a lot of the times people give advice and you're like, okay, thank you. But that is a big one. You have to be willing to forgive because, again, when the shoe is on the other foot and you do something wrong and you are, when you do something wrong and you're like at the bottom, you're at the pit and you are like being vulnerable, asking your spouse for forgiveness and then they just don't.
Yeah. And again, I want to make it clear that the offense doesn't always have to be infidelity. It doesn't always have to be infidelity. You can offend me by not by being disrespectful in some type of way, not honoring the vows, or whatnot. So it doesn't, because sometimes we go straight to infidelity. That's not the only offense in a relationship. You know what I'm saying? But we still be like, I can't forgive him for this, that, and another. And I'm just like, or I can't forgive. And I'm just thinking like, so why are y'all together? What's the purpose of your relationship? Because you're going to be walking around with resentment towards each other. And that's not healthy.
It's March 1st, and I can't forgive him for forgetting Valentine's Day.
Yeah. and people are serious about that.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Some people are serious about that.
Right.
Because they think that's the only way for him or her to show their love. And it's like, so now I have, I've got no chef for forgetting my birthday. Nobody forgets my birthday. Now that's a national holiday.
You talking about Happy Christmas.
We've been through this past November. He didn't, I had to. Yeah,
lot going on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I had to sit back and I had to forgive. I had to ask God to, bring me down, and and I'm just like, show me. But I'm like, dear Jesus, sweet Jesus, he forgot my birthday.
Ooh.
Yeah, that time, yeah. Because I'm like,
sounding alone. Listen, man.
But
I'm sorry. One of the things that I was really excited about addressing in this topic is to define some of the verbiage. Because a lot of times when people have discussions about forgiveness, they say things like, you have to let it go. Let what go? What are we talking about? What are we talking about? And the idea that you stated earlier that forgive and forget are not the same. I totally concur with that. I completely agree with that. Forgive and forget are not the same. But in the instance of letting it go, what is that it? And I'd like to offer that the it in letting it go in terms of forgiveness is when you release yourself from the responsibility of seeing that person punished for what they did.
Okay.
When you release yourself of the responsibility of seeing that person punished for what they did. Oftentimes, one of the reasons that people find it so difficult to forgive is that they are imposed upon that forgiveness means that what that person did was okay, and it's not.
Right.
Since it's not, they deserve punishment. Since they did wrong, they need to be punished. And when you stop that is one of the aspects of what you are letting go when you forgive. You're letting go of your responsibility to see that person punished for what they did.
Right.
They did wrong. They deserve punishment. Let that go. Stop feeling that. Stop making yourself responsible for seeing that they be punished for that wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The echo coming from you, girl. You gotta put some headphones on.
Me?
Yeah.
I can agree with that. But you also have to, I would say, when you're letting it go, you definitely have to let that go, because you shouldn't be bringing it back up in your relationship. And that's what happens in relationships, because
So
if you're continuing to bring it up in you get in an argument, or when or he or she does something you don't like, and I've done it myself, and I know other people who've done it. And so when I talk to these couples, this is what they were saying. They completely, it's done, it's over with. So that means you're not bringing it up because you've already went through that process. You're healed from it. So there's no reason why I'm taking I should be bringing this up 10, 12 years ago, or something for 10, 12 years ago. And
Oh, you're talking about kitchen sinking. Yes, that's the term.
So this is what happens. If you're saying that you totally forgive your mate and
Mhm.
you're moving forward. Now, again, it's a process. The healing, it's a process. It's not going to happen overnight, but you're working towards the healing. But if every time you get into an argument and you say, well, remember when you did such and such, da, 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 and you still hadn't let this go. And that is a lot in relationships that people still continue. You're not dealing with the process. Like you're not taking those steps to heal completely. Yeah, I still remember my ex-husband having a baby on me, and I wrote a book about it, right?
Mhm.
But I don't mention, the only time I mention that situation is when I'm coaching, not even when I'm coaching, because I, as a certified coach, I'm not supposed to bring up any of that, right? So if I'm using it as a tool, as a resource or whatnot, so I don't bring that up. I don't bring it up in my relationship or whatnot. I don't harp on it because it's done and over with. You see what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. Like, you forget it. You're supposed to let it go. It's in the seat of forgiveness. If you forgave this person, you're done with it. Now, again, it depends on you how long it will take, because if you're continuing to remember the offense every single time, and then you're still with this person, and you're going through the therapy or whatnot, and you're continuing, there's something deeper that has to take place, more healing. This is where your therapist comes in, because now it's something else that's triggering it. It's another layer to that. Because if you can't let go of this offense, there's something deeper than that. And that's when you go into your that's when you should go to a therapist or a counselor, not a coach. You got to go somewhere deeper, because there is a big I had to go somewhere deeper. I couldn't just stop at a life coach, because there was a problem there. You see what I'm saying? This man offended me big time, royally. And so on the surface, I'm like, oh, well, I forgive him because da, 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 da. I'm gonna be like the other women. But then when I started going to therapy, there were layers. There were layers of, why this happened and why it really offended me. Da da da. That's what I'm saying. Like, in a lot of relationships, this is what's happening.
I agree with that. I agree with that. I just, in what we've been discussing so far, gives the it two different definitions. The it, from the way that I was presenting it, is releasing yourself from the responsibility of seeing them punished for what they did. You're talking about after that point. Once you release yourself from that, stop talking about it. Don't bring it up every time there's an infraction or something else to try to connect that to. So the points that we're making they will definitely work in tandem. And I perfectly agree with you that each person's process is going to be a little different. We can't say that since they just forgot Valentine's, you should be over it in a week. But since they forgot your mother's birthday, you shouldn't even worry about that at all. No, it's not up to us to say how long a person has to take to get through that forgiveness process. I totally agree with that.
Starlet says she agreed, but for her, infidelity is the unforgivable offense.
Can I jump in on that right quick?
Yeah.
Forgiveness in some situations is not tantamount to complete restoration of the relationship, in the sense that enabled them to hurt you that way in the first place. Infidelity is not unforgivable to me, but that does not mean that we stay together. That does not mean that our relationship continues. I can forgive you and let you walk. I can forgive you without looking for closure, without trying to figure out why you did it, without trying to figure out what was wrong with me that made you do this. I can forgive you. I can release myself from seeing you punished for the wrong that you did, and I can let you go. So, in that essence, forgiveness is not unforgivable. You can forgive a person. That does not mean that you need to stay in that relationship.
That's right.
Especially if you're talking about infidelity, like you started with. You have forgiven your ex, but he's your ex. That's what I don't want people to lose.
Right.
The power in using forgiveness to manipulate people comes with the erroneous attachment to forgetting.
Right.
And it's like a simple example that I give people is if someone stole $500 out of your wallet, you can forgive them. You can decide that you're not even going to wait to, you're not even going to look for the money back. Just it's okay.
Nah,
But
I need to look for that.
but you will not give them your wallet to hold again.
Right.
You have
Correct.
learned
Correct.
that their behavior is not conducive to certain parameters of your interaction. That doesn't mean you vow to condemn them to hell. It doesn't mean that every time you see them, hey man, look, you owe me, you got, it,
I
so
just ask God to strike them down in a heartbeat.
and that's a perfect example that I like to give people regarding what forgiveness actually means.
Yeah.
You can not hold that person responsible for being punished for what they did without giving them the power to do it again.
Yeah. I mean, I used to think the same thing, that infidelity was unforgivable. But when I go back to my faith, and it, and I, when God says to forgive, and that's something I had to do. I had to be obedient in my faith, because and that was the reason why I kept having those dreams, and it wasn't helping in my situation, because I was like, well, I can't forgive him, because on the surface I'm like, I'm forgiven. I've forgiven him and moved on, but I was still holding on to that, like, it's just unforgivable because I went through this, that, and the other. But it wasn't, again, for me and my faith, I had to forgive and let it go so that I could move forward for what God had blessed me in my new relationship, because it wasn't fair to Chef. You see what I'm saying? Because I was
Being punched.
still having some resentment, because
Mm.
now I'm looking at him like, you're gonna do the same thing, because I still am in this cycle. So again, this is why I say we have to be, and I do suggest this, we have to be careful with our words and the understanding, because I too was at that point. It's unforgivable. I could never, but when I watch these other couples and thriving couples that talked about this, that this is what helped me on my journey of healing in relationships, because now I'm like, oh wow, okay, it can, but it's a process. It's not going to be easy.
Right.
And so this is why in relationships, you have to have your village of good couples who've been through the trenches and who can say, listen, we done been through this, that, and other, but you can make it. We've dealt with this, but you can make it.
Mm-hmm.
We've been through that. She left me. I've been through this. He left me. But you can heal. You see what I'm saying? Like you have to I just encourage people to. Now, I did have a group at one time. I did have a group of, girl, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't go by his house and egg it up. Da, 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 da. It was all out of anger.
And get yourself arrested for somebody else's
sugar in that
foolishness.
gas
No,
tank.
That's
the gas tank at this point. We passed the sugar in the gas tank. I tell you, it was Rice Street offense. It was Rice Street. It was clank clank type
Wow.
of get back,
yeah.
But you
And
have to be careful with that when you put in your head that it's unforgivable. Like, and then the anger builds. It's so many layers. And this is what I'm saying. Like, it's so many layers, but it doesn't have to be complicated like that. It doesn't, because when something you said earlier, Evelyn, when you think of, I'm misquote you, I don't want to do that. But you were talking about the when you're forgiving, you're letting it go. You're
You're
releasing.
releasing yourself
Right.
from
Yeah.
the
From the
responsibility of seeing
responsibility.
them
Mhm.
punished
Yeah.
for
Right.
that wrong.
Because that's what the closure is. I want you to hurt. I want you to
Yeah.
feel what you've done
That's
to
a
me.
part
I
of it.
need you
That's
to
a
Absolutely.
part of it,
acknowledge.
right?
Absolutely. Yeah,
I
that's a
need you
part
to
of it.
acknowledge that you hurt me so that I can know that you're going through pain too as
Yeah.
well. And
Yeah.
so
And
That's the hurting
that,
part. That's what you could. That's what can hurt you. That's what you have to
Yeah.
let go. Is what she was saying. You know what I'm saying?
right.
My take
And
on
okay, yes, go ahead.
forgiveness is a bit tricky for me because most of the people's ideas of forgiveness stems from religion, right? That's in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I'm gonna use you as an example, TaShon, because you said,
Mm-hmm.
when you in your past, in your previous situation, in your marriage, say
Mm-hmm.
you had a baby, say you had a daughter, whatever, you had a daughter together, and this man harmed your daughter.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
are we to
Mhm.
forgive him in that? You know what I mean? So it's like
Mm-hmm.
it's it can get tricky because I
Yeah.
think that at the end of forgiveness, the only thing you have to forgive is yourself. It is
Mm.
yes, that's
perfectly
basically what I was saying.
fine.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
perfectly fine to forget or to like forgive yourself
Mm-hmm.
and disconnect from the situation.
Mm-hmm.
To say I have to forgive someone who murdered my father or something. You
Mm-hmm.
know, to say to I have to forgive the person that did harm to my sister. You know, what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that's it almost is it creates this illusion or this false thing that if you do that, something will be released and you'll be able to move forward in life.
Yeah.
And I think that the closure, the ultimate see, in certain situations that we're in, we beat ourselves up. How did I not see he had a baby on the way? How did I not see he
Mm-hmm.
was cheating? Where did I, damn it, how stupid could I be? You have to forgive yourself for beating yourself up. That's
Yeah.
the forgiveness you need. We
Yeah.
have to forgive ourselves for beating ourselves up. That has to stop. We
Mm-hmm.
can't do that.
Agreed.
We have to,
Agreed.
you know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
that's the real closure. The closure is
Mhm.
I forgive myself. That
Mm-hmm.
is that's the closure because if we don't forgive ourselves, we're never ever going to forget what they did. Our
Mm-hmm.
minds are not built like that. We're just never ever going to forget the
Yeah.
cheating, the child.
Mm-hmm.
We're never going to forget these things.
Right.
Yeah.
The therapy is going to help us with the triggers. We're going to
Mm.
have triggers. It's not as our response to the triggers. That's where therapy come in at. How can
Yeah.
I manage these triggers or whatever?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
But we're never going to
Agreed.
forget. We're going to wake up. We're going to be going to dreaming about what happened. We're going to have these times where we space out and think about, damn, man, I can't. But we're going to have those times.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
our response to it is our forgiveness for
Mm.
ourselves is the only thing that matters. If it's no
Mm.
way I can forgive anybody and not myself, I am
Mm.
100% accountable for me and my actions. I am Johnny
Yeah.
Prince. I'm sorry for allowing this to go on. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Mm.
I saw this and I still didn't do anything. My
He
bad.
still sat there and laid and let it.
Mm.
Exactly.
Yep.
I'm
Mhm.
sorry. Like I'm really sorry, Johnny. I have to put you through this. My bad. I'll try my best to not let it happen again. But I forgive Johnny Prince.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
did what they did. I am not responsible for what they did.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't owe them anything.
Mm.
I don't as
Nope.
far as I'm concerned, for me forgiving myself, that situation is released. I'm not saying I won't forget anything, but now I don't. Once I forgive myself,
Mm-hmm.
that there's a liftment there. There is
Yeah.
not now. I don't have to see any harm because there's a thing called karma. There's other things that will handle their repercussions, not me. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? So I don't have to worry about that. You have to have that understanding. I can't be responsible for seeing harm done to them. Like what
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Evelyn said. I release myself from that, from forgiving myself.
Yeah.
So we have to speak more on forgiving yourself. That is the
Yeah.
part that has to be emphasized. Forgive yourself and watch a whole new world open up. because
Yeah.
I can forgive you, but you can still continue to beat yourself up for the situation that happened 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
And
it,
that's very
I
what happens to this day. It continues to happen. So
yeah,
forgive yourself, family.
yeah. It comes with that process. I'm glad you had mentioned the offense. I had some women on Woman on Fire podcast before, and I had one who experienced molestation
Mhm.
as a child. Um, several, actually, I had several women, close friends, and I had someone whose family member was murdered, their mother was murdered, and so forth. But they talked about that forgiveness piece, believe it or not. They had to forgive their offender, like that person that harmed them.
That's
And
unrealistic. That's crazy.
but it's again, it's from what they explained, it was a release for them, and they had to move on. And I don't fault them for doing that, because that is something that I've struggled with. If someone was to uh, harm my niece, sexually molest,
Mhm.
rape or whatever, whatever the case may be, how would I handle it and so forth. But listening to these women and some men that I had to interview, it was amazing. It was amazing, and I admire them for the strength, because they did say they had to face that person, that family member, and they had to do some releasing. And again, this didn't happen overnight. Like some of these women that I talked to, it took them years, and they went through down this spiral, their lifestyle or whatnot. They noticed a lot that was going on, because they had not gone through the healing and the forgiveness piece. But once they did, they were released. It was a different kind of release for them.
So let me
But
get
can
this
I
right,
ask you a
Deshaun.
question? Can I,
Okay.
last one of them had the same release forgiveness story after this thing occurred.
so
Child.
let me ask you a question about their testimonies to you.
Hmm.
Can you identify from what they said the exact thing that they released?
So
What
Yeah.
was that thing?
right, this thing, one, she had to release the fact that her grandfather molested all the grandchildren, and nobody said anything, but they knew, and she was next in line.
Mm.
She was next in line when everybody before her, including the adults, knew what their grandfather was doing
Mhm. So
in
that
this family. You see what I'm saying?
mhm.
So she had to release the fact that, okay, her mother them knew. Like it was wow, because she had to release the fact that her mother knew, her cousins knew, the grandmother knew, but nobody tried to stop and protect her. So she had to go through that process. Then, like she said, she had to go through the process of forgiving herself, because she was like, if she knew what was going on with the cousins or whatnot, how come she didn't say anything, but she was a child or whatnot. So it was like different layers and whatnot. Did she say it was easy? No. She All of them said, and it was about 7 women. They
Yeah,
wrote it down, whatnot. They all said it was not easy for
I
them,
agree with that.
because
I
this is what family members, and I want to say all of these women, it happened in their families. And
mhm.
the one who the guy whose father murdered his mother,
Mhm.
um and then there was another young woman, I want to say her dad murdered her mother as well. But it was a process of forgiving, and they talked about the forgiveness piece, you know
So let me
I,
ask you this, Deshaun. So
huh,
if let me ask you this. So if you believe that um uh that if a woman was molested,
hmm
that for her to be released or whatever she needs to let go, she has to forgive the offender. Is that what you believe?
I mean, I believe, because I had to forgive my offender
Mm,
when I was raped twice.
mm.
If not, then
Okay,
I would be messed up. And
maybe
when
I
I
could.
say messed up, meaning I would still hate y'all as black men.
I was finna say that. But go ahead, Sean. Finish because I
But
can add to that.
I mean, as my therapist put in, I don't want to divulge in too much of
Mm-hmm.
our conversation, but as my therapist said, there was a release that I had to let go. And it did not mean to forget, but at the same time, I had to forgive myself. Like you said, I had to forgive myself. But before TMR came about, I was still holding on to what my rapist did. Well, at that time, almost 20 years ago, because I had never released it. I had never talked about it. Only told one person at that time, and so that's where the hatred began to become more relevant after like the divorce and all of the stuff that Black men had done to me. And I realized that I hadn't forgiven, I had let it go. On the surface, I was like, oh, I forgive, I'm done. I forgive myself, I'm good. But deep down inside, I was still hurting. I was still holding on to this, even though it was buried in the back of my head. Nobody, my husband didn't know. Chef didn't know any of this. But my therapist was like, you got to release this stuff. And what is happening, I can't speak for all women, but the women that I have spoken with over the years, when something like this happens, we bury it and we don't release it and we don't forgive. Not to say I won't forget, but I have started to forget that. Like there was a moment where I knew exactly what I had on, what he had on, what he smelled like, you know what I'm saying? What he looked like. But when I started that process of healing, I had to let it go. That's why I wouldn't wear jeans or anything fitting. I wore loose stuff because I was still holding on to that, but that wasn't fair to me or the people that I came in contact. So that's why I say, for me, forgiveness is an essential piece of relationships, no matter if you're with man, woman, with your family or whatnot, because it comes with a certain level of, as you said, Evelyn, responsibility. You have to let it go, but it really depends on you as an individual. Some people like, fine, I'll shoot, bump him. He don't matter to me no more. But I guarantee you it's gonna come back
It
up
does. It
because
does,
you
man.
have not dealt with it. And we
It
we
matters.
don't deal with a lot of these offenses, you know. And that's why
So you're saying they don't you not if you have that attitude, the person generally didn't deal with it.
yeah, the person
Yeah.
who deal with it, 'cause you
So
know,
there's no such thing as you forgiving yourself
yeah.
and having that same feeling about, oh well, he did what he did. I accounted for myself. I forgave myself for the situation, and I move forward. So that's not healthy.
I would say
I have to forgive that person as well as myself.
it depends on you. And this is why I suggest to people. It really ultimately depends on you. Some people have that attitude, and it's not a bad thing or a good thing. It really depends on you. If you can walk and say, "Hey, be done. I forgave myself, and that's all that matters." You know what I'm saying? And if you dealt with it, a lot of times we don't deal with this situations.
Well, that's what I'm asking you. As a person that dealt with it,
Yeah.
and say that I forgave myself.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Is it okay is that okay without forgiving the other person? That's what I'm asking.
Ask yourself this first. If you were to see that person, what would you do to that person?
Who, me?
No, I was talking to
Just in
Johnny.
general, yeah.
Oh,
In
in
general.
general?
Johnny.
Like, if I was
Oh,
No, I
me,
was-
if I whoever did the foul to me, no, I didn't. If I see the person, then that's just what it is. I'm not gonna do nothing stupid to go to jail. I ain't gonna do none of that
Okay.
stuff.
Well,
That's
so
let
then
go
that's
because I forgave
that's
myself.
you know what? That's that point of you have forgiven them. Not saying that you have given them a pass. Because most people that haven't forgiven someone, and that's where my story is. Like when I was raped at 16, I was so conflicted because me being 16, being a black male, then me going back home and me not having my family believe what I stated happened to me because that wouldn't happen. That wouldn't happen to you. Not the person that you know, your track record of how you were in school. No, that can happen to you, right? It took me to forgive that person because I found myself going right back to Atlanta to kill that person because I felt that was the only way for me to release that situation. To forgive myself, it was to take that person out. And like TaShon said, with everybody is different, but I had to forgive that person. And God's funny because when I did make it back to his apartment, it was almost like he had never been there. I mean, it was immaculate, it was clean. And it was just like a few days that I moved back home. But that was hard for me because I thought my closure was that I needed to take this person out. And it wasn't until I went through my grievance because not only did he rape me, he confused me. And I even took myself back over there several times for him to misuse me again. So I had to forgive myself and that person just for me. I don't know about nobody else, but I had to do that for myself.
One of the
Did you?
things
Okay,
that
good.
one of the things that I think we're really we're so close to, and this still there's a teeny point that's still not the most clear when we talk about a release. A lot of people keep hearing that and they're not necessarily sure what is being released. They're not sure what that means. So for a physical example,
Oh,
let's
he had
take
a
it
hold
like
on me.
this.
He had a
Right.
hold on me. That
So
was a
like
release for me.
so like this is my hand. Everybody can see my hand. Somebody has stolen $500 from me. I think they should be punished. This pen represents my feeling that they should be punished for what they did. So now I'm holding on to that. It's in my hand and I cannot let this go until I get my money back.
Right.
If I release it, what am I doing? I am letting it go in the sense of this determination that I am going to get my money back.
Right.
I have to not hold on to that.
Right.
That is what I am releasing. That is what I am letting go. When someone has killed my parent, you know, since we're talking about these really serious
You gotta go to the
examples.
extreme. Yeah.
Yes, when someone has killed my parents, I think that person should burn in hell for the rest of all eternity. And I'm holding on to that. I can't let any love into my heart or into my hand because it's so tight around this emotion.
Right.
And when that is released,
let go, release.
Exactly.
Yes.
You're able to.
You're able to function. Yes, because
that's exactly what I had to do.
This is restrictive.
Yes.
If you are walking through somewhere and your hand is trying to get through somewhere, but it can't because this thing that you're holding is preventing you from passing where you're supposed to go. To release it is now just the rest of what you're moving forward in.
That's right.
So we're talking about releasing someone from paying you back that money, releasing someone from explaining to you why they cheated, releasing someone from the knowledge that they could have protected you, but they didn't.
I think that's what my forgiveness was, not him explaining why he did what he did.
Exactly.
That's what I forgave.
Exactly, Evelyn.
That I knew I wasn't going to. That's what I forgave him about, not knowing that you were not going to explain to me what happened, you know. So
and all of these things are a hold on you.
Yeah, right.
Because that's why the conscious decision to release it is what we're talking about.
And that comes with the forgiving of yourself. Please,
but even if you forgive yourself, you're still holding on.
No, how?
Everybody's release is different.
How?
Everybody's
is it possible? Is it possible to love yourself? Is it possible to love somebody else and not love yourself?
Yeah.
There are people.
Is it possible to love somebody's self and not love you? Is it possible to love somebody else and not love yourself?
Yeah.
Yes.
I did it. I did it for years.
Okay, right. I'm just saying. We do the action, yes. But
Yeah,
it
people
is
say that all the time
impossible
that
for that love. People do it all the time, right? But it's impossible for that to be even true in any time if you don't love yourself. There's no way I can present the type of love that you need if I don't have that for myself. That is impossible.
but
So
all
it is
right, if
impossible for you for you to forgive somebody else without forgiving yourself first. That is not never ever talked about in the. You have to forgive yourself first before I move forward.
No, well, actually,
No,
no, it is talked about in my therapy.
I'm
It
not
is
saying it's not talked about. What I'm saying is
you
this should be
can
first.
forgive somebody
The
that
right,
you
thing
but
people always say you gotta forgive the person first. You got that's the
no,
thing that's what we're talking about.
not
actually,
first,
You gotta
no,
forgive the person
yeah,
first.
not
That's
actually,
all I
first.
hear.
no. So this is what I'm saying. When I talk to the couples who whenever went through, I'm gonna use a couple AB. Um, when this offense took place or whatnot, they didn't forgive them. Like they didn't know where to start in this process of forgiveness. They just knew that there had to be some type of releasing and
right.
talking about and this, that, and the other. You don't know how to forgive yourself. And I'm gonna use me as an example because I did experience all these things, not just infidelity, but along with the rape and whatnot. I didn't
Mhm.
know how to forgive
You
myself, and
don't.
nobody said to, and I can honestly say people around me didn't say you got to forgive him. You
Mhm.
know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? They didn't say start off. What was said in the beginning of my process: breathe and don't try to figure anything out right now. I can
Mhm.
honestly, thankfully, down to my pastors, to my friends, because they knew me. I was trying to figure out how to start this process because I wanted to move on with my life. The
Mhm.
first thing that I was told was breathe, process everything in, because you're going to go through the emotions, you're going to go through the hatred, you're going to go through the anger, you're going to go through the sadness, you're going to go through
Absolutely.
the depression because you something just happened that violated
That's
you
right.
in every which way. So how does that look like of forgiving myself? It took me years. This is why I stress. When people get out of one relationship and jump into another, it irks my soul
Mm-hmm,
because
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
as
mm-hmm.
your certified
100%.
relationship growth coach,
100%.
That is
it
unhealthy.
hurts my soul because you have not healed.
Right.
You have not gone through the process. I
Right.
guarantee you, you have not. This person, for whatever reason, and whatever the case may be, it doesn't have to be cheating, but they violated you in some kind of way
Mm-hmm.
that
Hmm.
was not healthy. So, how do you process that and jump into another relationship just that quickly?
Because they forgave the person. You see what I'm
No,
saying?
they didn't because they didn't
But
process.
that's what we're telling the people. As long as you forgive the person,
No, you
right?
cannot.
As
Yeah,
I know you can't. This is what I'm
yeah,
saying. This is why it's
yeah, yeah,
tricky. You know what I'm saying? This
yeah,
is why it's tricky because the thing is, as long as I forgive the person for what they did, I can move forward with my life. But
yeah.
you can't. There's you have to forgive yourself
Yeah,
first.
you do.
First.
You have to go through the process. And even the word tells you it's a process. He didn't say
Very
just
much a
straight out
process.
forgive. He didn't say, but he tells you at the end, you got to forgive. He knows it's not easy. We humans. He knows
Absolutely.
somebody hurt us. God does not expect you to be like, okay, he didn't rape me, so I'm gonna forgive him today. No, he
Mhm.
knows that it is a process that
Absolutely.
you do have to forgive yourself. But what does that look like? And a lot of people don't know what that look like. And this is why I emphasize you don't need a coach at that moment. You need a therapist. You need
Absolutely.
a counselor who can dig deeper into that because it's something deep rooted. When I started going to therapy versus a counselor. I need y'all to understand. I'm talking to the people out here.
Mhm.
There's a difference between a therapist, a
Come on.
counselor, and a coach. A
Come on.
coach
Yep.
cannot
There's
diagnose you.
levels to this.
I cannot diagnose you. I cannot tell you. The
Mhm.
only way I suggest that you go to a therapist if I see that you're going to harm yourself.
Right.
That's it. I cannot give you any diagnosis. And this is what people are looking for, the easy way out.
Yeah.
They don't want to dig
Oh
deeper.
yeah.
They don't want
Oh
to go
yeah.
Yeah,
to
they running from
Oh
them
yeah.
demons.
Yeah.
right. They don't want
Running
to
from
go to
demons.
pastoral counseling. If you
Yeah.
if you don't want to go to a therapist, they have faith-based therapists. I had a faith-based therapist that's going to tell you the values, that's going to give you So this is where I said people do not want to dig deep and get the help for their healing process. It's a lot of trauma under that unforgiveness. When you're holding to unforgiveness, that means you're not forgiving yourself and you're not forgiving the offense. But eventually you're going to have to do that. If I had chosen to continue to unforgive, to hold on to the hurt and the unforgiveness of my ex-husband, I would be in a miserable relationship with Chef right now.
Or not.
Or not, right. Or no, I know so many bitter Black women right now, bitter Black women, single and married. You know why they're bitter? Because they haven't released the trauma from years ago from the other man that pissed them off. So
But what
now
me and Evelyn is saying is that release doesn't come from me forgiving them. It's forgiving myself.
it doesn't come from forgiving them, but they still hadn't.
They still haven't dealt with that.
They still hadn't dealt with it.
Right, correct.
In order for you to deal with it, you got to. If there is a process, because you're not gonna forgive yourself overnight. You don't even know what that looks like. You don't even know how to say. You know, like I didn't know how to release myself. How do I forgive myself when I invited this dude over to my house? I thought we were good, and I could talk about this now because I'm good. I healed from it. Right. But it's like, how do I forgive myself when I invited him over? I thought we were just chilling to watch some TV. I didn't know the man was gonna jump on top of me and rape me. But then I went through a process of blaming myself for inviting him over. You know what I'm saying? I had to go through this process, but it took time. It took time. And then I had to start, oh, okay, I forgive myself. Now let me move on to the offender. Like, I gotta let him go because
Hey Sean,
this is down there.
Is Ernest Mr. James?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. He's got it about 5 minutes.
Hey, y'all.
Hey, but he was patient. He was patient.
Here.
I've been back here a little while.
Oh my God.
Sorry about that, brother.
Patient man. He's a patient man. Patient man.
Please forgive me. Oh my God. I don't see the thing. Oh my goodness.
It's all good. He here now.
I took no videos out too, just in case came. Yeah.
Hi, Ernest.
What's going on, brother?
Hey, I was really enjoying the conversation because I guess I came right at the right time because you guys were talking about self-forgiveness. And I'm like, okay, I came right at the right time.
Okay, it's all God divine. Because oh my God, Lord, I'm not gonna hit the snooze button again. That next week for real. If you want to, you know what, the floor is always open to. Oh my gosh, y'all didn't see? It's Johnny and LaRon.
Oh no!
I
just told you he was down there.
I saw him a while back.
Can you forgive us?
Yes, can you forgive us?
Yeah, right.
No, you offended me. Y'all three offended me. Y'all offended me.
Forgive me, please.
Man in the background. I can't forgive you. I'm done.
My back.
I saw the notice pop up, but I wasn't sure exactly what it meant. I apologize for any part
I don't forgive you.
I don't apologize. I don't apologize.
Now my life is ruined, Evelyn.
Oh my God.
Put my foot down.
I cannot trust any of y'all anymore.
Well, listen, Ernest is here. Ernest James is in the building,
Hi,
y'all.
Ernest.
What's going on, brother?
Oh my God.
Man, you know what? This conversation is really right on time.
Yeah.
And I know we're not supposed to date ourselves in our podcast and stuff, but I just want to say it's right on time because next week, which is February 10th, next Saturday, we're actually having our first forgiveness workshop of 2024.
Wow.
Right? So as some of you guys may know, I've been blessed to be a part of an organization called the Forgiveness Mission.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we do is we have free virtual workshops on forgiveness every quarter of the year. So actually this year, even though it's 4 quarters of the year, this year we're actually doing 5 sessions. So we added an extra session. And so next Saturday was actually going to be February 10th is going to be our first our first talk about forgiveness for this year, our first virtual workshop.
Oh,
So
wow.
even though I'm just getting here, so yeah, so you guys,
Wonderful.
whoever's listening, you guys can go to forgivenessmission.com to check that out, or you can go to Eventbrite or even on Facebook events talking about forgiveness to be able to take part in that. And so what I was saying was, as with this part, because I'm a part of the forgiveness mission and I present, and one of the part that I present about is forgiveness of self, right? And so I actually wrote an ebook called "Forgiving Me: The 4 Steps to Self Forgiveness." If you guys can see it, if you can see it,
Yeah.
but it's "Forgiving Me: The 4 Steps to Self Forgiveness." And so when I talk about forgiving self, I use the word self as an acronym, right? Which stands for season of life, emotional state, limited information, and the F is forgiveness by recognizing where you are. So we can go into it a little bit. So when we're talking about forgiveness of self, a lot of times we hold ourselves, we hold judges against ourselves and grudges against ourselves for things that we did in the past, right? But if we now looking back on it, right? So now I'm 47, right? So looking back on my 27-year-old self, I may have done some things that I'm not too proud of now at 47. But when I look at the acronym for self, when I'm going into self-forgiveness and I look at it through the lens of this acronym, it allows me to be able to forgive myself for some of the things that I did in the past, right? So the first thing we want to talk about is the S, which is the season of life that you're in, right? So imagine in my 20s, of all of us in our 20s, that season of life, we were just young and dumb, as we like to say sometimes, so a lot of things we did because we were just young and unexperienced. And so when I think about things that I may have done in my 20s, looking at it now from a grown man's point of view, from a 47-year-old man point of view, I'm like, yeah, that wasn't the smartest thing to do. But if I look at it through the lens of the season of life that I was in, I was young and unexperienced. So I can look at it from that point and be able to forgive myself because of that. Be like, I was just young. I didn't know, And so the E stands for emotional state. So some of the things that we do because we are just emotional, right? So I always give the example of when my mom passed away a couple years ago. During that time period, of course, I was very emotional. So some of the decisions I may have made, some of the discussions I may have had, even the way that I may have treated some people that was close to me at that time period because of where I was emotionally, what I'm saying? I might be like, I was wrong in that sense. But when I look at it and say, okay, what emotional state I was in? I was grieving, I was hurt, and if anybody heard my story, I've been on here several times. You go back to to some of the older dishes and listen to the whole story. Yeah. But during that time period when my mom passed, I was in debt. I was going through a divorce. I was in depression. So I had a whole lot of stuff going on at that time. And then when my mom passed away, that just added to the top. So whatever decisions or things that I may have done in that time period, emotionally, I was all over the place, right? So when I look at it through the lens of, okay, what was my emotional state, then I'm able to forgive myself by just acknowledging the fact that emotionally I was going through at that time, right? And so then the L stands for limited information. And so limited information just goes to the fact that you don't know. So you make a decision off the information that you have, but if you don't have all the facts, if you don't have all the information, if you don't know everything that you need to know, when you make that decision, then when that outcome comes and you're like, man, it didn't work out the way I wanted it to, well, you didn't have all the information. So for that, I talk about, with me, I've been a bricklayer for 17 years now. But when I first got out of high school, I already knew that's what I wanted to do. I knew my career path. I knew what I wanted to do. So I did like everybody else. I went to college, right? I went to college taking construction classes. It wasn't until maybe about 5 or 6 years later that I found out about the journeymans and the local unions and become a union bricklayer and found out that they would pay for me to go to college, that they would pay for my college. And I would get on-the-job training. As soon as I signed up, I would go right to work. So I would be learning the craft that I wanted to learn, but I wouldn't have to pay for it. So I'll be getting paid at the same time. I'll be learning at the same time, and they will pay for my college. Excuse me. But I didn't know that. I didn't know that till years later. So because of that limited information, that cost me a good 5 or 6 years of being able, where had I done that 5 or 6 years, who knows how far I would have been in my career or even in my life, because I would have started off making a decent wage at 17, 18 years old, become a journeyman. By the time I was, 21, 23, around in that age, I would have became a journeyman making 40 some dollars an hour. You know what I'm saying? So who's to say where my life would have been had I known and had I used those, excuse me, had I used those 5 or 6 years because of the information that I was lacking. Had I had that information, how far I would have been. But now, 17 years in, even though I could look at it and say, man, I could be even farther. I could be, 20 years in, 22 or 23 years in. But I can look back and say, I just didn't have the information. I had limited information. So I went off the information I knew, which was going to college like everyone else. And then the last F just stands for looking at it through all three of those lenses. What was the season of life that I was in? What was the emotional state that I was in? What was the information that I had? And then looking at it and then acknowledging through all of those lenses where you stood, and then forgiving yourself by acknowledging the fact that in that moment, you were doing the best that you could. You were doing the best that you knew, and you was making the decision that you felt was best at that time. Because hindsight is always 2020. Right. Me as a 47-year-old, I can look back at the 27-year-old and point out everything that I did wrong. Mm-hmm. But when I was at that point of being 27, I was doing the right thing of where I was at that point in my life. And so that's one of the things that I talk about. Even we talk about it in the forgiveness mission at the workshop. We also talk about forgiveness of others, forgiveness of the world, the whole thing, that we talk about. So I would advise everybody that have a chance to check us out next weekend. Forgivenessmission.com. Just go there and register. It's free.
So your mission. So you are, and please make sure. I know you will make sure to tag the mail room so that we can, join you and whatnot. And I definitely want, because I think we're gonna need a part 2 on this, and so forth. I think we're gonna need a part 2 because your mission is the forgiveness piece. No matter what the offensive, right?
Yeah.
How is that? Because you heard our conversation. I do apologize again that you were in the back. I'm just letting you know right now that I don't forgive my 3 co-hosts right
now. Man, it should have just stopped there. She apologized. She's not taking responsibility. This is the mail room. This is the mail room. Boy,
so what is your take on forgiveness? Is it essential in our relationships? And as Johnny was saying, do we start at the forgiving myself first, or is this something that you cover in the workshop on the processes and how does that start for you?
Yeah, well, whenever I talk about anything, I always start with self, because self is the only thing that we can control. We can't control other people. We can't control how they talk, how they act, how they treat us. We can't control any of that. All we can control is ourselves and how we react to whatever situation that we're in. Right. So I always say start with self, and then forgiveness is important not only in our relationships, it's important in everything that we do, because it affects everything that we do. Holding unforgiveness against one person affects everything else. So if you think about a woman who has been really hurt by a man, that affects her relationship with every man that she comes in contact with, right. Whether platonic, friendship, romantic, a man, period, is going to have an effect on that relationship. And so when you think about friendship, being betrayed by friends, now you're looking at everybody that comes into your life. You're looking at them a certain way, trying to make sure, okay, are they the ones that's going to stab me in the back? So forgiveness touches us on every part of our lives. And that's why it's so important. And that's why also it's so important for us to realize that forgiveness is for us. It's not for the other person, right? Because when we carry unforgiveness, it's a burden on us. And I always say, if you think about the person that did you wrong the most, right? The person that hurt you the most, where are they right now? And what are they doing? They probably ain't even think about you. They going on to hurt somebody else, right? They just going around hurting everybody, and you still holding on to it, and they done moved on, right? So we have to think about that. Again, that forgiveness is for ourselves, but we have to be able to release ourselves from whatever they've done. Now, forgiving a person don't mean that you let that person off the hook. It don't mean this is like, okay, you can come back and do it again. Because I talk about, even in the workshop, I talk about releasing, right? When you release a relationship, when you release it, that doesn't mean that you allow that person to come back. You forgive that person, but it doesn't mean that you allow that person to come back into your life, right? Especially in the same space that they were, without any boundaries. Because if
Right.
you do decide, okay, I'm gonna forgive this person and I'm gonna let them come back in, but now because I know their character, let me put these boundaries in place. Let me keep them in this area where I can keep an eye on them. So when I see that they're touching that line or they're crossing that line, I can address it right away instead of letting them hurt me again. You know, and so that's where that forgiveness comes in. Again, it touches every area of our lives. So it's very important for us to forgive.
Ernest, let me ask you this, Ernest. I hear some feedback on TaShon. I don't know, somebody needs some headphones. I don't know. But
I was gonna
Ernest,
say maybe if we need to mute one by one just to see.
oh, okay. Ernest, is one more important than the other? Is forgiving yourself more important than forgiving the other person?
No, they're equally important. Because
Okay, so, all right.
forgiveness, we separate forgiveness into boxes.
Okay.
But forgiveness is just forgiveness.
All right.
Because
So let me ask you
touches
this.
everything. Go ahead.
I got you. No, I got you. So let me ask you this now, and I hate to go to the extreme because I have to make sure that this is what you're saying. So me forgiving myself is equally as important as forgiving the person that molested my 7-year-old daughter. Those are equally important.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they're equally important because they touch different boxes. But again, we break up forgiveness and say, forgive this, I forgive this, I can't forgive that. You know what I'm saying? But forgiveness is just forgiveness across the board. Now, again, when we talk about forgiveness, we also, again, I have to mention the boundaries. Just because I forgive you doesn't mean I'm going to allow you to come back in to hurt me again. Now, you mentioned, someone touching your daughter, you might forgive that person for the fact so that you're not carrying the burden of unforgiveness.
Right.
You're not going to send your daughter back over there to
Back
be
off because you
babysitted
ain't
by
gonna send
that
your daughter
person.
back over there.
You know what I'm saying? So I can forgive you, but you just stay over there. You know what I'm saying? I forgive you. I'm not going to, wish you no harm. I'm going to go on with my life. You stay over there. I'm going to stay over here, but I'm forgive you. So I'm not carrying that the rest of my life. You know what I'm saying? And then I'm not taking that burden into the next relationship or the next babysitter or the next person, who friend, my daughter might want to go to their house. And I'm like, no, I got to meet the parents. And you know what I'm saying? And go into all these different spaces. So you have to take the initiative to forgive for yourself. So you're not carrying that person with you everywhere you go. Because if you don't forgive them, everywhere you go, that person is on your shoulder.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Every relationship you're doing, everything that you do, that person is right there because you're carrying them, even though they ain't even in your life no more.
Right.
They done moved on, they done got remarried or whatever it is, but you are still carrying them when you don't forgive them and let them go.
Is that true? Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Hi, Ernest. I have a question for you. While we're talking about the broad range of all that forgiveness covers, what do you say to the person who is willing to use the notion of forgiveness to manipulate? What do you say to the person who says, oh, wait a minute, you said you forgive me, so why can't we go back to the way things were? Why can't it be like it was before? What would you offer the hearer of that imposition as a response to that person who would use forgiveness to manipulate?
So if I forgive you, and then we go back to the way things were, that puts me right back in the same position, right? To be hurt again. And if that person is truly a manipulator, they want to go back to that position because now it allows them to operate maliciously as they've been operating. So when I say I forgive you, I forgive you, but now I know who you are. Now I know your character. Now I have to put up these boundaries to protect myself from you in case you try to do that to me again. So let's say, you were a woman maybe cheated, her best friend cheated on her with, her man or whatever. And so now that best friend is like, well, you said you forgave me. Yeah, but now I'm not going to introduce you to the next man. You know what I'm saying? Like, you my friend. We cool when we together, but you is not finna meet my man. We not finna double date. You know what I'm saying? You just have to put those boundaries in place that protect you from that person, even though you've forgiven that person. You know,
But wait. Don't those boundaries mean that you haven't forgiven me? If you're not going to put us right back to where we were, then you're still holding a grudge. How do you answer that person who imposes that forgiveness means forgetting?
It's time to let him go. Let him go.
Forgiveness, yeah. Forgiveness definitely never means forgetting, right? And in fact, you want to remember. So forgiveness is letting go of the burden of it, right? But
Let
yet
them go.
still, we got to go back to those boundaries because I got to protect
Yep.
myself. And then if you're in a relationship, friendship, or whatever with a person who has hurt you and acknowledge that they have hurt you, but still want you to put them back in a place where they can hurt you again, it's time for them to let that person go, right? Because that person that already means you no good. So again, starting with us first, okay, I'm going to forgive you, but now let me look at me and see what spaces or what things that are in me that allowed me to allow you to get that close to me anyway, right? So now when I address my issues, okay, I'm addressing abandonment issues or, you know, loneliness issues, whatever my issues are. Now I address that with myself. So now once I've got to the point that I'm good, now when you come back, now I can stand up and say, nope, I got to protect myself. I forgive you, but you only can come this close, right? When you get to this close, okay, now you got to step back. And again, if that person knowingly has done something to you and then still wants to be back in that same position, that person probably don't mean you no good anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I had to revisit that incident with myself, with that rape incident, and understand that it was something deeper for myself, because, and again, like Mr. James was saying, that me having to forgive him, I'm a very helpful person. I see somebody on the side of the road, I normally stop. You can't do that as much now because folks crazy. But that was my forgiveness for him, because that's what I did. That's how I got myself in that situation. I helped that person change his tire. And then I got pulled into something that I didn't want to get pulled in. But for a while, I stopped helping people because I was scared that the same thing was going to happen. And it wasn't until I forgave that person, regardless of where he was at. If he hurt me, forgive him. I had to forgive him for myself. And that's still that part of forgiving yourself, that which allowed me to start being who I truly am. And I know that I love helping people, but it wasn't until I forgave that person that allowed me to start being that again. So I definitely understand where you're coming from, Mr. James.
And I think that's an important thing to address too, because you mentioned about forgiving that person, whether they hurt you, forgive them or not, right? And so one of the things we definitely have to address is forgiving someone without their apology, right? Because a lot of times we're holding on to unforgiveness to people who can't apologize anymore, right? People that did something wrong to you that you're still holding on to. That person dead, buried. You know what I'm saying? They went on and passed on to a whole nother life. But you're like, no, I'm going to kick dirt on their grave every chance that I get because I'm still holding on to something. But they can't apologize. They can't make amends. They can't do anything now, right? Because they're not in that space. So again, the only thing you can control is yourself. So now, you know what? I got to let you go, even though part of me don't want to. Part of me wants to continue to hate you for what you did to me. But also the other part of me that is still living, that is still growing, that still wants to love and experience love to those who are actively in my life. I have to forgive you so I don't end up hurting those that's coming after you, right? I have to forgive you so I can let you go, lay you to rest where you are, and I can move forward and live with the people that's in my life now.
Yeah.
Lay you to rest, quite literally. I love that. That is very quite literally.
That's a lot of black men are dealing with that right now. Well, not only just black men, but I can just say for that with my dad. You know, God has allowed me to sit and try and direct my dad into that forgiveness. because his parents are dead, and you're holding on to something so toxic and not understanding that that toxicity is bleeding into your family and causing more harm than it is you holding on to something that you will never get because it's gone,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah.
And
And this
also,
is
I
why I
think
say you can't. Go ahead,
go ahead.
Evan.
Okay.
I was saying that that's why you can't force an apology, or you can't force anybody to look. And at that one time I was trying to force my ex-husband to apologize no matter what. I'm like, you
Mhm.
left me homeless, you left me and this, that, another. And he was just like, oh well. But again, because he's a narcissist, it didn't matter to him,
Yep.
Right.
and so I spent years trying to force myself. And as you said, Ernest, he wasn't thinking about me.
Mhm.
You got to the point where you blocked me. You see what I'm saying? You didn't want to take accountability. And so that did linger in my spirit. And that's where that hatred was buried down. And that's why years later it came out, because I had finally buried it. And I was like, okay, forget it. Da da da. But then it was still seeping out. People
Mhm.
don't really understand. This
Mhm.
stuff is real. It was seeping out. Now that I'm remarried, it was seeping out in my
Mhm.
dreams, like to the point where I'm literally going through this unforgiveness in my dreams. And now it has seeped over into my new relationship. So that's why I'm like, okay, I haven't dealt with it. I thought I forgave myself.
Mhm.
I did in a sense, but I did not totally release any of that until that day. And even he still, but I am free. I am
Mhm.
free. I think I did have a trigger though when somebody called me by my ex-married name, last name. And I was like,
Oh,
oh, Trinette, who? What did you just say?
Mm-mm.
What?
you need to go back and
I had to go back and read it. I
you
had to
need to
pull
go
out
sit
the
on
therapy
that
notes.
shelf.
I had to pull out the
Mercy.
therapy notes. I said, oh Jesus, wait a minute. Wait a minute, what do I do? Step one, I, but
Right.
that
Oh
is,
my
you
goodness.
do
Yeah.
have to start, you have to make it intentional,
Mhm.
in your healing process. It has to be intentional. It has to be a determination, as you said earlier, Evelyn. It has to be that determination. And, I asked somebody, um, I asked a young woman who's bitter, and I understand her past. I understand her trauma. And I said, what? I said, have you spoken to the person that hurt you? No, but I see him. I said, oh, so you stalking him on Facebook?
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
You stalking him? I'm like, so what does that look like? What
What
sense?
does that get you?
Right. So why are
Nowhere.
you following this person?
Right.
What are you looking for? Because the more pictures that you see him with a new woman, all it's going to do is piss you off even more.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
going to
Yeah.
set you back even more.
Yeah.
Yep.
What is holding on? Like you were saying, Evelyn, why are you holding on to the hurt? He's been gone out your life for almost 10 years, and you are still tracking him on social media.
Mhm. Mhm.
Something
Mhm.
is that's beyond coaching. And I had to let her know, I I am unable, this is not a good fit. I'm unable to coach you. You don't need a coach. You need a therapist. You
Something
need
else.
a pastor.
Yeah.
And because now it's deeper than that. This is not, because whatever I say to you, you're not hearing it. When I say it starts with, you're not hearing it. So this is something deep rooted. There's no reason why you should be still tracking your ex
Mm.
Mm.
on social media. First of all, that's time
Mm.
consuming. Second
Oh
of
yeah.
all, so it is a process. And I think we have to have those honest conversations. Going back to what you said, Johnny, we don't have those conversations because we do automatically say, well, you got to forgive the person that offended you. But we don't really realize, we don't know what that looks like. We don't know what this whole forgiveness process
And
looks
it's
like.
different. It's different with
It's
everybody.
different from
True.
everybody. It really is. But
Mhm.
I like the fact that, Ernest, that you are honing in on that forgiveness piece, because that is a very intricate part of our relationships. You got to have some forgiveness in it has to be relevant in your relationships. Because like I said, I know thriving couples now that they went through hell and high water. And one of my questions to one couple, I was like, and you stayed? And it wasn't even infidelity, but it was something that violated the other mate. And I was like, and you stayed? Like, why?
But you know what? That's the thing that makes that couple great too.
Yeah.
I think folks misunderstand that as well. And I'm not saying again you don't give that not giving that doesn't mean that you're giving that person a pass to do that to you again.
Right.
You know, only two great minds in that relationship are going to be able to sit down and understand, okay, that happened. And like Mr. James was just saying that previous me thought I was doing right, but the me now knows that, oh man, that wasn't right, and I can't do that again. If I want this person that I say that I love, because I'm telling her or she's telling him that I love them, I can't do that because that is not actions of love towards that person. So
And
we just misunderstand that.
Yeah.
Also, I believe that there is some very there's some tangible benefit. There is some tangible benefit in taking those acronyms of self steps and considering the other person through that lens. Where were they in their mind when they did these certain things? How much have they changed from that person they were then to the person that they are now? That may enable some of the release. When you can look at what someone has done to you, if they were immature when they did it, and you know that they were immature at that time, now you've recognized how they've grown, that can help you forgive them and release them, release yourself of seeing them punished for what they did to you. I see that so much, particularly with adult children who had young parents, or when that parent has done all of these awful things to a child through their growing up years. And then that child gets to a point where they say, Mom, Dad, I forgive you. Because I know that when you were trying to raise me, you did the best that you could know to do at that time. It wasn't what I needed, it wasn't enough, but it was the best that you could do. So I'm not mad at you recognizing that you did the best that you could, even though the best hurt me tremendously in that moment. When you take those self steps and consider the other person's experience through them, even if you never say it to them, that may enable you to release yourself from the burden of what they're causing you to carry.
That was me 2017 with my parents. I
Yeah.
had coming to them and explaining to them that I get it now more than anything that y'all were not raised to, and not to sound bad, but they were not raised to raise kids themselves because of how their parents did them and mistreated them. So they really didn't have that structure to raise kids the best way that they could. And but that's what they did. They only did what they could do with what they had and what was given to them. And yeah, so I had to forgive them for that.
Yeah.
James, let me ask you this, James. Is it good practice to reach out to the person to say, I forgive you?
Good question.
Depends on who that person is.
Yeah.
And depends on what that person have done to you. So, like Trinette was saying, if you got somebody that you done broke up with, y'all been broken up for 10 years, why are you reaching out for them? Right? They've obviously going on with their life, right? So you even interrupting their life, I don't think that's going to be a good reaction that they have. You know what I'm saying? And then if you're still that toxic that you're holding on for something from 10 years ago, why would you physically bring that person back into your life? You know what I'm saying? Now you're just asking for that hurt to come back. So that's why when we talked about that forgiveness without apology, again, this is for you. You know what? I'm just going to take it in my mind and I'm just going to imagine that you apologize and I'm accept it and then I'm going to move on. Right. I don't need to hear you actually say the words because you may never say the words. Like Trinette said, you know, that person might be like, whatever, you know, they probably hurt you on purpose. So they're not going
Right.
to apologize for something they did on purpose, you
Mhm.
know. And so reaching out to them is only going to hurt you. You know what I mean? It's not going. It's not
Mm.
probably not going to affect them at all. If anything, it may give them more joy knowing that you're still affected from what they did,
Right.
especially
Yep.
if they did it on purpose.
Yep.
You
Yep.
know.
Yeah.
So
And
you, again, you always want to start and end with self, right? You always want to start with and end with self, and do what's best for you. And what's best for you, maybe sometimes just leaving that person alone.
Mhm.
So
and
if I'm
sometimes you would
able to,
endanger
I'm
your,
sorry.
and sometimes not only just bringing that person back from their history of the past and hurt situations, sometimes you can endanger yourself physically if you're talking to the person who had done whatever wrong to you.
Yeah.
You know, and that isn't
Mhm.
that's just going to rip the scab off the wound that you have while you're endeavoring to heal it. And that can easily be counterproductive if that's what the person did to you and that's what you're trying to heal from in this sense.
Mhm. Johnny.
So I don't. So you're saying I don't have to. So I don't have to reach out to that person to say I forgive them. It's pretty much in you. You have to
Yeah.
forgive them in you. All right.
Right.
So
It's just a decision that you make for yourself.
right,
Mhm.
right.
Yeah,
So,
because
so
I
how?
didn't have to reach. The only reason why I reached out to my ex-husband at that time is
Mhm.
because it was a necessary need, because we hadn't spoken. Like, when we got divorced 2007, I hadn't spoken to him until 2011. Like,
Mhm.
literally, we in the same city and all, had not, everybody else saw him and spoke to him, but we hadn't had any type of contact. And at this time I was drowning in debt. I'm in, you know,
Mhm.
still having the after effects of divorce, and he was nowhere to help, or X, Y, and Z. And then so he was determined not to say to meet with me or anything. And
Mhm.
again, I still had wise counsel even back in 2007 and 2010 to say, leave it be, forgive. But I still was determined I was going to
Mhm.
make him make
Right.
him apologize, make him pay for the debt, make him. It didn't work. So then you fast forward to 2018. I'm in a new relationship. I'm like, okay, I'm good and good, good. But it was still harboring in my mind, because I'm like, I gotta make this man pay for what he did. Because now I heard that he going on trips and he's still living his life. And I'm, like, these triggers. And I didn't have the sense that my therapist, I didn't pay attention and follow what the therapist was saying. Hey, these are some, when you have these triggers, as you were saying, Johnny, these are here's your action plan. This is what you need to do. So it became more aware, and it started coming. And that was God's way of saying, you got to let it go. I got it. Let me handle it. You do what I asked you to do and be done. And when I promise you on
Right.
as the kids say, promise, swear for God, I promise you on my mama them grave, I have been free. You see what I'm saying? You can block me, you can do whatever, which I am free. So there is nothing, he doesn't have that power over me. Matter of fact, somebody said, oh, I seen your ex-husband. I said, yeah. Did you tell him about my new husband? I said, he a good one too. I
Hey,
said, he
Ernest, how do you
tall.
know? How do you know if you're forgiving somebody truly?
Because you can
You,
walk past that person, or you can say
yeah,
that person's name,
Yeah,
and
my
you
wife said that a lot. You are not finna
yeah.
ruin my day because you in my presence.
Right.
right.
And that's what I was going to say. If
Mhm.
you can think about that person, you can see that person, if you can come in contact with that person and don't feel no way about it, then that's how you
Mhm.
know that you've forgiven them.
Prime
If you
example.
see that person and every time you see him, all the flashbacks start coming, now you want to
Yep,
grab them and
you
choke them,
have not
you haven't
forgiven.
forgiven them
You ain't
yet.
forgiven
Well,
yourself really at this point.
prime example. A check came from Wells Fargo with both me and his name recently, because from Wells Fargo, that they made a mistake on. But because
Mhm.
this was during my marriage, right?
Mhm.
Check came. I can't even cash it because he won't sign it. I'm healed. This is a
Mhm.
large check. I can't
Ooh.
even sign it. So I am healed. That lets me know I'm healed, because I'm looking at this check that I need money from. It's
Is
mine.
he light skinned or dark skinned?
He dark.
Oh crap! I was finna help you, and I was gonna sign it for you.
Listen. listen.
What's his name? Give me the check.
Me and Chef and look,
Give me $30.
me and Chef and the Wells Fargo bank manager been trying to figure out all kinds of ways. That's how I know I'm free. You see what I'm saying? That's
Well,
how
I
I
haven't.
know I'm free because I can let it go. In the fact that the bank even tried to reach out to it, but that's how you know that you're free. Because
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay, you still that upset?
But here's something that might help your situation. Kind of unrelated, but just try it out. On the check that you just got, there should be void after 60 days, void after 90 days. Whenever that check is void, since the bank knows what you're going through, let that check just time run out and they can reissue it straight to you.
They won't. They say it's gonna go back to the state.
So does it say
Okay.
something? So does it say something if you didn't rip the check up already? Once you saw his name, once you just ripped it up and threw it away at the time you got it.
I won't get the money.
No, but what I'm
regardless.
saying is, by you trying to get the money, is that saying are you holding on to something, or is you just trying to catch a check?
I'm trying to cash the money. That's my money.
What I'm saying, no, hold on.
My money.
But what I'm saying, his name is on that, so it's nothing I can do with his name on it. I'm not even going to be fraudulent and try to cash a check without his knowledge. So why didn't you just, why didn't I just, as soon as I see it in the name, as soon as I got it in the mail, saw his name, ripped it up immediately? I'm past the situation.
Right. They reissued me a check with just my name, with my new name, which is Trinette Collier, and his old name. They still had to put both our names on it because we were married at that time from the promissory note.
I understand that. But what I'm saying is, why didn't you just rip the check up as soon as you got it?
I did. But then I still needed to try to cash my check.
No, I think Johnny,
I'm
you're
confused.
making the point that you're making is that she was healed. That's why she didn't rip it up as soon as she saw his name.
Oh yeah. Because I knew that was my money. Yeah, that was my money.
Okay.
When I lost everything.
Got you.
So regardless, his name being on there, that's still her money, and she's just trying to get her money back.
Trying to get her money back. Right.
You know, in Georgia, everything when you marry, everything is still together. Regardless. So that's the reason why. Other than that, but that's part of that healing question that you asked. How do you know you're over it? I'm over because I can look at that check and I'm like, you know what, God? Hey, if he never signs that check, guess what? I didn't even expect it. You see what I'm saying? So, but I'm good. Was I around here crying like he's still? No, because I was free from him. That was just an unexpected. And I believe it was a test for me because I could have been like, whoa, woe is me, going back in the past and start thinking about all this stuff. But no, I was
knocking
like,
on head though.
Right, trying to put because I done went from all legal ways, so, but it was that test that say, I'm done with him. This is 16 years later. I received a check that still got us tied. No, I'm good. I'm good. God bless me in a new situation, in a new marriage or whatnot. That's how you know you're free. But a lot of people are not free. And this is why they should attend a forgiveness seminar such as Ernest, because it does affect you. If you're in a relationship, it's going to affect you if you have not released it at all, because it's a lot for people when they're unhealed. And this is why we keep seeing these relationships go head to head, because somebody is not saying, listen, I'm going through some stuff from my past. I got trauma. I need some healing. And they're not doing that. So listen, y'all, we got to wrap up real quick. This has been a powerful show. Ernest, I definitely want you let me know if you can come back next week. I feel like we need to talk about this, continue to talk about this next week or sometime this month.
I don't know, Ernest. That's if she let you in.
I'm a so Ernest, you see 1, 2, 3 people. That's them.
But wait,
she ain't gonna never forgive us. She ain't gonna never forgive us.
Didn't
Ernest is like,
That's
yo, they gonna let me in? You gonna let me in?
No, that's
I was just being
them.
patient. I know how to wait my turn. I'm just like, all right, I'm back here.
I guess it was the wrong date, man. Damn. I guess it wasn't this. Damn, she done messed up.
Listen,
All right.
real quick, I apologize, but seriously, I definitely want to have you back on so we can do a part 2 of this, because I feel like it's just needed for our relationships and so forth. So quickly, everyone, tell us what's coming up with you, DJ Johnny Prince.
Oh, I got that Be Clear Alert podcast. I got a show.
Yes.
I got a good brother coming up on this Sunday at 6 p.m. So make sure you follow Be Clear Alert podcast everywhere except Facebook. Thank y'all so much.
Evelyn.
I always enjoy being with you guys. Thank you so much again for having me. The next appearance that I have is actually scheduled on the Uncanny podcast.
Okay.
This Monday, we'll be talking about, will a black man ever have a safe place in this world?
I'm gonna be told, baby.
Like
All
that.
right, Mr. Takeover.
Well, Miss Evelyn just said everything there for me, to which I do appreciate her doing so, and I am glad to have her back on with that. But I do want to add that, like I stated in the comments earlier, the power that you give to people in the form of needing closure is so dangerous, guys, and that you really need to let that go, and that even though the world tells you that closure is needed, the only closure that you need is knowing that you're safe. It's only that knowing that you're safe, because sometimes trying to get that closure puts you right back into that pit of danger. So I just want to leave y'all with that. You don't need it.
Right. Thank you so much. Ernest James, what you got going on coming up?
All right. First of all, thank you guys for having me. I always enjoy when I'm on here with you guys. To those who don't know me, I got 2 podcasts running right now: the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast and the Girl Dad Discussions podcast, which is both running right now. But since we're talking about forgiveness, the ebook, Forgiving Me, the 4 Steps to Self-Forgiveness. You guys can get a copy of that at ebooksbyejames.com. Again, that's ebooksbyejames.com. And make sure you guys go to the forgivenessmission.com to check out those free workshops that we'll be having. Again, we're having the first one of 2024, February 10th. So you guys can go there, register. It is free. We talk about forgiveness of self, forgiveness of others, forgiveness of the world, and we even talk about how forgiveness affects our bodies. So we got to talk about everything forgiveness. Absolutely. Pretty much on that, and during that time. So make sure you guys go check that out. Again, that's forgivenessmission.com.
No doubt.
Wow, that's powerful. So please make sure you all do that, because we definitely want healing in our life. Period. And you can reach me on all social media platforms, the Mail Room, the YouTube. Make sure you're subscribed. Tell your friends, tell your friends. I got some good things coming up. Stay connected to the website. I am Trinette L. Collier. And get your dancing on. It is Relationship Growth Month. And put those videos in of you dancing. You just dance 1 minute. Just 1 minute. Make sure you tag the Mail Room and all that, Johnny. I want to see that today, since y'all done left me. That's the only way I will forgive y'all. If you show me,
I knew it was gonna be a catch. I know,
right?
Boy, I tell you, it's always.
Hey, I'm just saying. But I thank each and every one of you all. I love y'all to life. Enjoy this day. And we're gonna come back and do this again. We're gonna come back. There goes Johnny.
Yeah.
Going out again. Well, okay. So, okay. It ain't doing. You know what? Bye, y'all.
The mail room, I be tuned in. Listen in to TaShon, she be going in.
y'all.
Black queen for us black kings. We can learn a thing or two when we're locked in. One of the few places we can be heard.
Facts,
Man, I rocks with her, that's my word. The show is enlightening, engagement always enticing. I'm always come with an open mind, I'm never frightened. Guaranteed to walk away with minerals. Now that I'm thinking everything else is minuscule. Rid of fools who don't protect black women. No arguing, disrespect, and that's it.
y'all.
Please come in peace when you call in. Cause our friends ain't no slouch, fair warning. The mail room, messages from him. Y'all better listen if you wanna win. The mail room to stay, the mail room, yes, it's here to stay.
Messages from him, tune in.
The mail room to stay, the mail room, yes, it's here to stay.
Messages from him, tune in.
The mail room to stay, the mail room, yes, it's here to stay.
Messages from him, tune in.
The mail room to stay, the mail room, yes, it's here to stay.
Messages from him, tune in.